The wind had forgotten its old paths. It wandered now, across broken highways, through the ribs of collapsed towers, over fields that had once been forests and were now pale with ash. It carried the taste of rust and salt, and something sweeter, something that should not have survived. Mara walked into it without resistance. Her coat was stitched from many lives, canvas tarps, sailcloth, a strip of faded velvet she had once found wrapped around the bones of a piano. The sleeves were too long. She liked them that way. They hid her hands and the scars that had mapped themselves there over the years, thin white tributaries leading nowhere. Mourning had no real meaning anymore. The sun rose behind a permanent veil, a dull coin pressed against the sky. Still, she marked the time by the length of her shadow. Today it was short and stubborn, as if even the light had grown tired of traveling. She crossed the highway first. It had buckled upward in places. The asphalt lifted like the scales of some great dead creature. Grass grew through the cracks, gray-green and wiry. A line of cars stood frozen in a curve that once led toward the coast. Their windows had been blown out long ago, their metal skins peeled and flaked, revealing the quiet skeleton of machines that had once roared and gleamed. Mara did not look inside them anymore. She had done that for years, in the beginning. Every shape had been a possibility. Every bundle of cloth had been a person who might still be breathing. Now she walked on. Beyond the highway lay the city, or what remained of it, a jagged horizon of tilted concrete and dangling cables that sang faintly in the wind. The buildings leaned against one another like old men sharing a secret. Streets had become trenches filled with stagnant rainwater, black as ink. The air smelled of mold and memory. She descended into it carefully, testing each step with the metal rod she carried. The ground could betray you. Floors collapsed without warning. Whole stairwells simply ceased to exist halfway down. There was a time when the city had frightened her. Its silence had felt crowded, full of ghosts pressing close. Now it was just another terrain to be crossed, another chapter in the long geography of survival. On the third block she found the garden. It had grown in the hollow of a fallen tower where sunlight pooled like spilled gold. Vines climbed the broken walls, thick as ropes. Leaves the size of her hands unfurled toward the dim sky. Someone, or something, had arranged stones into careful circles, creating narrow paths between clusters of flowering plants. Color lived here. Deep blue petals trembled on thin stems. Small orange fruits hung in heavy clusters, their skins glowing faintly as if lit from within. Bees drifted lazily from bloom to bloom. The sound of their wings was almost music. Mara stood at the edge for a long time. She had seen such places before, rare pockets where the world seemed to be trying again. They never lasted. A storm would come. Raiders would come. The ground itself would shift and swallow what it had briefly allowed to exist. Still, she stepped inside. The air was warmer, softer. It wrapped around her like an old story she had nearly forgotten. She knelt beside one of the fruiting shrubs and pressed her palm against the soil. It was damp and rich, dark as night before the fall. A memory stirred, not of the catastrophe itself, not of fire or screaming or the long winter that followed. Something older, a kitchen filled with late afternoon light, a bowl of washed apples, the low hum of a world that had once believed in its own permanence. She plucked one of the glowing fruits and turned it slowly in her sleeve-hidden hands. Its skin was smooth, unblemished. For a moment she considered leaving it there, and offering to whatever fragile miracle had taken root in this ruin. Instead, she bit into it. Juice ran down her chin. It tasted like nothing she could name, only like life insisting. She ate until her stomach ached. When she finally rose, the wind had shifted again. It moved through the broken tower in long, sighing breaths, setting the vines swaying. Petals loosened and drifted to the ground, a soft, continuous fall like colored snow. Mara wiped her mouth and adjusted the weight of her pack. She took 3 more fruits and wrapped them carefully in a scrap of cloth. The path ahead would be long. It was always long. At the far edge of the garden, she paused. From here she could see beyond the city, the low, rolling expanse of the wastes, bleached almost white beneath the dim sun. In the distance, something moved, a dark line against the brightness. Not a storm, too deliberate. Travelers, perhaps, or the slow migration of machines that still obeyed forgotten commands. She watched until her eyes watered. "Still walking," she murmured at last, more to the wind than to anyone who might hear.